Welcome to footballgameplan.com.
Where football makes sense.
Alongside Cornell Hunter, I'm Tyler Merkovich, and this is the 2009 team preview for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Disappointing year last year under Jack Del Rio. Banged up offensive line. Started in the preseason with the shooting of Richie Collier. And they bring in first-round pick Eugene Monroe, and then go back-to-back in the draft, first and second round, by drafting Eben Britton out of Arizona.
Hey, I really like what the Jacksonville Jaguars did this past offseason. But the one move that I think will hurt them is letting go of Fred Taylor. I like what they have going at the quarterback position with David Garrard. He had a phenomenal season 2 years ago. And as you mentioned, he struggled last year, but that was due to having a broken down offensive line. They bring in Torrey Holt at the receiver position, and they drafted some young guys out of the college draft this season.
24th in scoring. They also drafted Jarrett Dillard out of Rice and Mike Thomas, another guy out of Arizona.
And those are two guys that can learn quickly under Torrey Holt, a crafty veteran. So I expect those receivers to struggle a bit because you can't really rely on rookie receivers. But having a veteran like Torrey Holt in the mix, you could see some quicker dividends than you would expect from a normal crop of rookies. And can't talk about this offense without mentioning Maurice Jones-Drew. Here's a guy who gets the backfield all to himself this season. My biggest problem with that, Tyler, is when you lose a guy like Fred Taylor, now they're one injury away from not having a good running back.
Chauncey Washington in the backup, but another playmaker to mention who kind of broke out last season before hurting his knee for not the first time in his career. It's happened a couple times. The young guy at UCF, Central Florida, Mike Walker.
Yeah, they have some talent on that offensive side of the ball. But in my honest opinion, I really believe it all starts with David Garrard. He's a good manager of the game. As long as Jones-Drew stays healthy, he's a hell of a running back. Here's a guy who's very short in stature, but he has a big build, very hard to wrap up, massive thighs. Great, he can hide behind the lineman, and he pops through holes, and before you even put your eyes on him, he's running down the field for big plays. So I like what they have going on the offensive side of the ball, and especially what you mentioned with that revamped offensive line. You should see a completely different Jacksonville Jaguars team this season than you did last year.
25th in turnover differential at -7. So they need to protect the ball and get back to their winning ways they were the last couple of years. Defensive side of the ball, Jack Del Rio, defensive-minded coach.
And he's already gotten in front of the news cameras and called out defensive tackle John Henderson earlier this offseason. You have a rookie who missed some time last year with a contract holdout in Derek Harvey out of Florida. Here's a guy who I really like off the speed rush in. So I look for him, team with John Henderson. Hopefully, I'm not sure if Del Rio went about it the right way in trying to motivate his player like that. But if it did work, you should see good dividends from Henderson and Harvey. Now, they do need someone else to rush that passer, give him a more dynamic pass rush. But with those two guys, you should see some good, decent numbers put up.
Despite 24th against the pass, they got one of the best corners in Rasheem Mathis.
I love this kid. I love them coming out of Bethune-Cookman. When you get your hands on that many balls, I don't care if you're playing flag football. This guy finds the ball. And they team him up over the top with a guy from Florida, Reggie Nelson. He's another young guy who I think is going to have a standout career in the NFL. So they have a good back seven. They have two good guys on the front line, and at the linebacker position, they lose Mike Peterson, which I think will hurt them big time. So overall, this defense may struggle, but having Mathis and Nelson gives them two guys that they know if the ball comes their way that they'll make the play.
Ball hawks, but Maurice Jones-Drew's time on special teams has been diminishing, and now with Fred Taylor, it looks like it's going to be diminishing even more. What's the outlook on special teams look like?
Hey, Tyler, that's a big question mark. That the fact that Maurice Jones-Drew is now the #1 back, that means you probably won't see him back there returning kicks and punts. They do have a reliable kicker in Josh Scobie. Even though he went 19 of 25, you expect better numbers. That's not bad. He only missed 6. But overall, their special teams will struggle, and that's another point. When you say you lose a guy like Fred Taylor, that means you have to pull Jones-Drew out from special teams. And Jones-Drew is one of the top-notch special teams guys in this league.
Last in the AFC South last year. What does it look like this year?
Hey, I really, it's going to be hard for the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. You have to keep in mind, coach twice a year. Titans, a Titans team twice a year, a new and improved Texans team twice a year. And they, like I said, with the question marks at wide receiver, they need some help at the linebacking position. There are too many weaknesses on this team and such a tough conference for me to be able to put them finishing anything other than third or fourth. But I'm going to say fourth because I think the Houston Texans are on the come up. So sorry, Jacksonville fans. I think you guys have a few issues that you need to address this offseason.
Playmakers, they pass on Michael Crabtree, even though they pick up Torrey Holt, they pick up the offensive lineman, but they're getting healthy offensive linemen back anyway, and their inability to score hurt them last year.
Yeah.
Could hurt them this year also again.
Well,
for more information on NFL team breakdowns, that's Cornell Hunter, the professor. I'm Tyler Merkovich. Visit footballgameplan.com/NFL.